No
Restarted
way.
the game.
Yeah, I've started a new
Nice.
new playthrough. This time I'm doing canon mode because I did non-canon because everyone else was doing canon.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
realise you'd done non-canon. Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
had to
I'm
pick or your.
yeah, I'm doing expert, stealth and
Oh,
combat.
going on hard, man.
Guaranteed assassination off. So I'm
Ooh,
going to
yeah,
have to
that'll be
really
interesting.
think about, yeah, which targets do you engage? And I had for the first time today, so I was just messing around on my main save file. I was trying to level up my knowledge to level 6 so I could unlock the other,
Aye.
unlock the special abilities, whatever they're called.
They're like a bunch of passes. That's weird.
Yeah. And I had the first thing where you can't assassinate an aware guard from the front because I whistled someone over. He had his spear down and he was looking like this. I thought, brilliant. R1 to assassinate, R1 denied. And I
Yeah.
just sprinted out of there because I knew I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting that like the whistle, like even though it'll bring them towards you, it can basically give it away for you.
Mm, You've definitely got to think more for sure.
Yeah. And did you know that when you're playing it on hard or whatever, they'll look up more?
I'd heard that.
Yeah.
And I was so glad I didn't have that setting on because I wasn't ready for that level of
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
Are you playing on hard difficulty then, Chris?
No, I always play games normal first time round,
Okay,
no matter what.
makes
Just
sense.
all I always try and pick default settings for everything,
Yeah.
at least for the first time round anyway, and then second playthrough, third playthrough, or whatever, I'll change it up a bit.
Mm.
I'm playing difficult. I'm playing on hard mode.
Oof.
It's a challenge, but it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've really enjoyed the melee combat. It's felt like the best version of the RPG, I would say, of all the RPG games.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
agree.
More challenging than Odyssey, more satisfying than Valhalla. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I would go one further and say I think it's the best combat in the entire franchise.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you.
All right.
Especially when you're just doing normal combat is Naui.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's something else. It's so fast and fluid, and especially when you've got her leveled up and stuff, and you've got the abilities
yeah.
in the right places and stuff, man, she just goes and you're just doing all these slashes and kicks, and it's beautiful, man. I love it.
The foot sweep and then the ground strike is so satisfying. And the vault she does over the back of someone if you tap dodge at the right time.
Yeah,
Very, very satisfying. I wish there was more actually. I'm hoping they'll expand it with whatever expansions they bring, but I'd like a few more of
yeah.
those kind of they're not active abilities, but I guess you'd call them combat dodges or whatever you want to call
Well,
them.
we
But
already know that there's going to be a new weapon for Yasuke in the first DLC, the free one that we're getting.
ah,
Um,
that's the one Claws of Awaji, I think.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's just a big pole, basically.
Oh, it's a bow
Like,
staff, I think.
I like Donatello and Turtles.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yeah, got it, got it. Well, we should probably do a quick intro. Welcome back to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. This is episode 183. I know it is because I just checked our YouTube channel to see what the most recent episode was before that. Chris, welcome back, mate. How you doing?
all right, great. Thanks very much.
Good, good. Declan, welcome back. How's things?
Konnichiwa, everybody. I'm doing
Konnichiwa.
grand.
That's the only Japanese I know. Well, the three of us have had very lucky to have had early access to Shadows. We are recording this on the 17th of March. The embargo lifts in 24 hours' time. We've been playing. I actually don't. Time has flown by. Have we been? Did we have 10 days or was it 14 days
No, it
of
was 14.
it's 14 days of early access? So yeah, we've been kicking the arse of Shadows for nearly 2 weeks. I've rolled credits and epilogue. Chris is pretty close, I think.
Just about to. As soon as I finish this, I'll be rolling
He'll be
credits
back
within
into
the
it.
hour.
Yep. And Declan is lost somewhere in the mountains of Japan. We haven't seen him for days. So
Gone.
yeah.
Yeah, last time I looked, I was in the Oni region by the hills of Meeting. I
Okay.
found a wild animal to paint, and that's where I saved it. Even though my mission was to go to the Akashi region and do a target there. That's about 1,000 kilometers from where I am, but I'll get there in a couple of days.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All good. We should start with a spoiler warning. We're not going to spoil the story. We're going to talk about maybe the opening few hours, but if you don't want any spoilers at all, don't listen. But we're definitely not going to go deep into who and where and what happens and all of that stuff because that's not fair. We'll cover story reviews in future episodes, but we wanted to give our first impressions, and that's what we're doing today. I recorded a scripted first impressions video, which is uploaded and ready to go. Declan's also recorded a first impressions video. Note to self, I really need to upload that today, Declan, so it's ready. But this is going to be a bit more like casual chat. I mean, Declan, you described what you're currently doing. You've been lost in the world, going to paint animals and getting distracted. So tell us about the world and exploration. What's it like in Shadows?
For me, Quebec has done what Quebec does, and it's created a world where it's vibrant, it's alive, and there's so much detail that you would just walk to your town and you'll see like a couple of people grouped around a small statue. So when you get close, you'll then get an interaction to pray at the shrine, and it's just off the beaten track. You don't know it's there, and because they've created hills in this game to be very steep and non-climbable, that if you do want to get to like a viewpoint or a temple, you can't just run up a hill because you'll slide. So you have to go the long way around. But the problem in that is you'll suddenly get a notification for an animal that you should paint or some bandits, and all of a sudden you're just pulled in a different direction. And the world is quite big, but not too big. And unlike Valhalla, where there's what I call downtime between missions where you're traveling, in Valhalla, the map was exploding in icons and dots, and going from A to B felt sluggish because you were always checking some off the box. But the exploration in this game, you've got to basically go to a viewpoint and then focus. So it's like now I scanning the horizons or Yasuke. And if you don't do that and you just walk, you'll just bump into something. So even though there is some downtime from going from A to B, you're still going to stumble on something you didn't know was there. And after an hour of wandering, you suddenly realize that you've lost yourself in a town you didn't know existed. You've beaten two areas you didn't know you should be doing. And then you finally get to your main target. And it's a nice little loop because you don't get bored. You get kind of like excited about what's around the corner, if that makes sense.
It does. It really does. I said this in my review. It's going to feel familiar to anyone who's played Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, but they've really stripped back the quest markers. The glowing dots are gone unless you specifically look for them. Actually, the sheer quantity of stuff is different. You remember in Odyssey, you'd go into a fort and you could stealth it and have a great time, but you'd have to kill the commander, kill three senior guards, loot five chests, burn three supply crates to complete the location. Whereas here, it's one task. It might be collect letters or pray at three shrines, and that's it. So they've really stripped back the Ubisoftness of the open world, I would say. It's weird. You might think, well, that does that make it emptier? But I think what Declan said there is right, is it doesn't, because far fewer things are marked, but you'll see a shrine, you can go and pray at it. You'll see an animal, you can watch it. You'll just take in the world, and what they've created is amazing. It really is. I think it's might be the best looking open world I've seen
Yeah.
of all the games I've played. What do you reckon, Chris? World and exploration.
Yeah, I mean, for how it looks, it's absolutely gorgeous, and the density of it for a world for the size of the world that they've built and how good it looks with the density of the foliage and stuff, it's insane. Like it actually gives you a notification kind of near the beginning of the game, and it tells you like you should actually stick to the paths, and some of the forests are like so dense that you won't go through them, you can't get through them. And yeah, like you can run off path and go through a forest that's so dense that you can't actually see anything and you end up just going falling down hills and running until you come out the other side or find your way back or something. It's insane. So the world, the way it's been built, is really interesting to me. And yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
I was going to say, I think another part of the world that I think we should mention, because I know it was mentioned in some of the developer stuff when it was being promoted, but when you see it actually is better, is going through a town as Yusuke instead of Naue. I've noticed if you walk through a town, all the people will stop and some will bow their heads and some will let you pass. But if you play as Naue, they just go about their business.
Yeah.
And it's actually a very small blink and you miss it detail, but it's so beautiful to have like Naue mingling with the crowd and people like let her pass. But as soon as you're in with Yasuke, they step aside, they bow, they gossip, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, the game is so full of like all these little tiny details that they've added that they've never had before, and they're absolutely like insane. Like one of the ones I seen was that I just didn't expect it for some reason, and it's basically I was running kind of not in a a dense forest. It was like a kind of open forest and it had a wee stream running through it. And at the time, this kind of windstorm comes through and the wind starts to pick up and then all the leaves start kind of blowing off of the trees. And I seen the leaves blow off the trees, land in the river, and then like float downstream for a while and then sink. And I'm like,
Holy shit.
what the hell? I was like, I can't believe they've got like such little details. Like that's like on the level of like Red Dead Redemption type stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really impressed by what they've done with the world.
The animals, there's so much not interactions between the character, but if you observe, they've taken the time to fully animate monkeys playing together, or what's the other one I remember painting? A wild boar and her babies, piglets, whatever they're called, all fully animated, running around the fields and sort of playing and chasing. And you just think, my God, you could have just put one in there for for the collectible. But no, they've gone to the trouble of adding all this detail. Yeah, I'm with you. I've actually spent more time in the world in the countryside than in the cities actually.
Yeah,
But I was walking through today, and it's everything you might expect, but little things that maybe earlier games did, but I've never noticed. So the classic Assassin's Creed NPC with a broom sweeping, which I think we've probably had since AC2 or AC1, because you could pick up a broom, couldn't you, in AC2
yeah.
and use it as a weapon. So you've had like NPC sweeping, but today I saw someone sweep and then stop and then look at their broom and start bashing it to get the dust out of it. And I thought, I don't think I've seen that before in the earlier games.
Nah.
People praying, I saw someone vault over a fence today. It was quite funny in a full corselet and straw hat. But anyway, people going up to temples to pray and then doing their prayer and then walking on it. The more time you spend in it, the more impressive it is, for
Yeah.
sure. Favorite side activity, Declan?
Um, that's a
Obviously,
hard,
keeping it spoiler free from story activities for today.
that's a hard one, but it's going to be spoiler free because they're not everywhere. They're hard to find, but they're called the Konshu. They're like little caves to explore.
Mm,
They're very small, very narrow. But what I really like, and I know some people will disagree, is the caves are dark, like
Yeah.
unbelievably dark. And you need to actually light the candles that are littered around. And what's impressive about them is whenever you play RPGs with old tombs and old temples, you have that running joke of, well, why is the lighting still working? Or why is the lamp still burning? There shouldn't be because it's ancient. Whereas when you walk up to the candlesticks, they look old and the whole temple looks run down. Well, the cave, I mean, does look old and run down. And then when you light the candle and the little flame, it just makes it really immersive. Just to you feel trapped in a cave. And I know people may be like, well, that's a weird thing to say, but feeling you actually are in that cave trapped is quite immersive and really enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I agreed that I did like the wee dark caves, but I was kind of annoyed about the lighting situation. I don't know why we don't have a torch anymore.
There is a reason for that. The devs have actually addressed that point,
Oh,
and they
really?
said that I don't remember it word for word, but it's something to do with we didn't think it would be appropriate to carry a flaming or to give your character the option of carrying a flaming torch when most of the buildings are wood and paper. Everything would catch fire,
Ah,
and of course,
and because the destructible environments and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and
Right,
big
I get
fires
it.
were historically a big issue for Japanese cities. Many,
All
many
right,
times
okay.
over.
All right, okay.
Great
Well,
fires have
that
just
makes a
yeah.
lot more sense then, and I can be okay with that then. That's fine.
Yeah. Do you know it's weird? Like, do you remember? I mean, Origins had the pyramids. Odyssey had various caves with ancient kings and whatever hidden in them.
Hmm.
The Odyssey ones were pretty basic. These ones are weird. They're not difficult because all you're doing is following a path, but there is something about them. I did find them interesting, and I can't tell you why, because you're not it's really weird. You're not really being challenged. It's not a parkour challenge. A couple of them
Yeah,
require rope swings and whatever, but I did find them really interesting or engaging, perhaps is a better word.
I
And I
think
don't know why.
the way they were made, like it's not like usually when you go through a cave in an Assassin's Creed game, it's really quite obvious what way you need to go.
Mm,
But in these, even when the place was lit up a bit and I could actually see everything, there was a few times in some of these games where I was like, I don't actually know where to go. And it took me a good 5, maybe 10 minutes sometimes before I realized, oh, that's where I need to go. So I don't know,
maybe
they're
that's it.
definitely built differently than
Yeah.
usual.
I think that's what I would. Do you know what? That's a good summary for pretty much every part of the game. It's familiar, but built differently,
Yeah.
you know?
I
Um,
think the reason why a lot of these places like the caves and all that feel different is because of what James said at the start. Because they've stripped back all those like glowing dots and icons, as
Hmm.
soon as you walk into a cave, you're not bombarded with, oh, well, this can be mined or this chest can be looted. You have to physically look. So going in, it feels different because you're expecting like
that's it.
glowing circles to tell you where the loot is and eagle vision or focus vision to find every little collectible. But because you have to physically be in front of it to see it, as you're rambling through and you suddenly step onto a chest, like, oh, I didn't know this was there. So you loot it and you carry on. And even though it should be obvious the chest is there, it's not. And it's that nice little, oh, I found something new. And oh, where does this path go? And I think by stripping back all the dots and glowy stuff, people can now experience what a game really is instead of just a checkbox.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There's definitely it's a different. You remember in Valhalla and Odyssey was the same. You'd press Odin's sight, or was it called
Hmm.
Athena's sight in Odyssey? Whatever, Eagle Vision. You'd press it, you'd get all the bing, 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 bing as it found all the lumps of rock you could mine and all the chests. But yeah, this time you've got to give a little more.
Yeah, you need to observe.
And it works. I'm feeling it. I like
Yeah,
it. My personal favorite events in the world so far are the Kujikiri. I think that's what they're called. I'm not
that's
normally a yes, the
the timed
meditation.
one. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think they're my favorite as well.
yeah. They. I'm not normally a QTE person, but do you know what? With the rhythm of the music and the way it gradually fades out, I was feeling
Yeah,
it. I was
yeah,
getting into that pattern with your hands and
yeah,
it matching on. It really did connect in a way that yeah, I thought this is actually quite cool.
yeah. Because I remember like the first time, and it starts to the buttons that it's telling you to press starts to disappear, and then the
Hmm.
picture kind of starts to
Hmm.
disappear and change, and I was like, oh no, this is really hard. And then, but it gets you into enough of
It
a
does.
rhythm
Yeah.
beforehand that it does usually go natural. And if you do miss one of them, then it pops back up and then
Hmm.
gives you another chance and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
they're a lot of fun. I think the
Yeah.
kata's pretty cool as well because I feel like it almost shows you different combos to use sometimes and when to press the button at the right time.
I've got a lot to learn there. I know Yasuke's got some combos, but I haven't done any of them.
Yeah.
So let's segue into combat. Um, I'm still not really entirely sure what a posture attack is, apart from you press and hold light attack or press and hold heavy attack. it's just a different kind of attack. So we've got four attacks instead of two, would you say?
Yeah, so you're like either tapping the button or holding it on.
Mm,
You've got your top trigger, so your trigger and your R1 or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, see, I've not messed around with a lot of Yasuke's other weapons apart from his uh, rifle and his katana.
mm.
Not really messed with other weapons. Whereas on Nawe's side, I've kind of gave every weapon a good few hours to see what they're like.
Yeah. I suppose it gives variety because certainly some enemies will read and react to your attack. So
Yeah,
that definitely keeps it more interesting. I'm still learning, I would say, and still observing different patterns. But there are some that will always dodge, for example, a heavy posture attack, and
yeah.
then they'll jab you. So you learn not to do that
Mm.
next time. Um, with, funnily enough, with Yasuke, I haven't used his katana at all. I've gone for the
Oh,
Naginata, the pole axe,
yeah.
which I've always loved that weapon. So I've been using that pretty much exclusively. And I'll be honest, so Yasuke has the option of using a bow or the musket, the teppo.
Yeah.
I haven't used either of them. I've just gone
Oh.
melee the whole time with
Yeah,
Yasuke.
I've pretty much been the same. Like I had my rifle on my back pretty much the whole time, but I only ever used it like four times. And the bow, I think I used it once when I first got it, and then I was like, nah, this just doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
Wasn't really into it. But he doesn't really need it.
no, maybe on expert difficulty, and I'll see how it
Mm.
goes on my new playthrough. But yeah, on standard or normal difficulty, it's just fun to charge in with the Naginata, swing it
Yeah.
around you, strike three guys at once. You know. I will say one thing on the Teppo. One of the subreddit mods, I don't know if he'll do a video about it or like a build guide, but he's found that once you get to level 60, which is the top level, if you combine the right rifle with the right upgrades with the right engravings, you can basically turn it into a silent sniper rifle.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Right, I need to try that. That'll be a
Yeah.
laugh.
So, I mean, I'm hoping, I don't want to say his name or anything because he may not want to talk
Yeah.
about it right now. He may not want to sort of make that video, but yeah, he was experimenting with engravings and different upgrades.
Nice.
Yeah, and it looks like you can do some cool stuff, and that's what I'm also looking forward to. Odyssey, yep, I appreciate some of the negative comments, but it had a really flexible like character and combat system.
Oh yeah,
You
the
could
the
build
builds
for
you could
specific
make,
weapons.
insane.
Yeah, you could go glass cannon, tank, poison, fire. Loads of different ways of assembling different skills and engravings and whatever. I hope this game has the same. And I think it will because there are masteries you can unlock. There are different engravings and charms that you can wear, which I hope that will all combine to that kind of flexibility. For now, I went all in on the Kusarigama, which I think is a fantastic weapon. I love it. The chains swinging about her head as she gets ready to strike is just so cool.
It is very fun to use, but I actually found it really hard to use.
Ah,
Because I was
really?
kind of trying to push through the game kind of faster than I would like to, then I just kind of defaulted back onto the katana and Tanto for the most part of the game. But I actually can't wait to. I was saying earlier that I can't wait now to restart the game and take it real slow, man,
Yep.
and really enjoy it. So
Yep. That's what I'm doing. Started today. New game, level one, expert difficulty. And like you say, explore everywhere, talk to everyone, find every shrine.
yeah.
Could take 200 hours. I don't know. Actually, that's a good point. I mean, in terms of game length, so we've all received a copy of the reviewer's guide. We're not allowed to share the reviewer's guide itself, but we can refer to it. Do you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to bring it up and just tell people what the major sort of story chapters are. I won't give any spoilers. Um,
So I'm going to cover it. It's covered more in the video that James will be uploading for after the embargo. But there's a really cool setting in the combat where you've got default combat, which is you've got to time the posture, the heavy attack, and the light attack. There's a setting for combo mode. So as soon as you press R1, which is your light, Now I will launch a flurry of combo attacks once. So if you press R2, she'll do a flurry of combo attacks once as well. Similar with Yasuke. And then the third setting basically auto the posture, the combos, and the default combat at once. So there is a really cool way to fine tune combat. So if you want to do more like the postures, or if you're struggling to master the combos, which combos are a bit tricky, but it's about the timing of R1 and R2, you can set on the settings to have it as like a default option where a single press of light or heavy will launch a flurry of combos, or have it as all of them. So a single press of button will be a launch of combos and posture attacks. And it just makes that combat more fine tuned. And I found that as Nawe setting it to auto combo makes her a lot faster and a lot more deadlier.
I really, really enjoy Naoi's combat, and that's when you said earlier that you think it's the best in Assassin's Creed. I do think I agree, especially when it comes to her combat, because some of the stuff you can do is just madness, combined with her speed and all the other things that she can do is just, I think it's as close as we've ever been to like a perfect assassin, like not a perfect assassin game, but like a perfect assassin, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
Combination.
yeah, like, because like it's just everything about it. You've got the stealth, you know what I mean? You've got a grappling hook. You can go prone and crawl about the place. She's super fast. You can do all these wee twirly jumps and stuff, and then our combat on top of that is like second to none. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of blown away by the character as a whole.
And I would say if you've got her Tanto equipped, she's actually more aggressive and brutal than Connor was in AC3 because a lot of the combat with the Tanto is like stab, sidestep, slash. And because it's a combo with the hidden blade, there's a lot more of a flurry attack. And with her katana, I would say she's more like a samurai type fighting, so it's not as deadly. It's more precise, more poised, more determined. But if you have her tanto equipped, which is what I use all the time, she becomes very fast, very aggressive, and it's just a little bit more fun just to watch that speed taking down an enemy by just poking him in loads of different places, like a pin pusher.
And can I just add to that one point? Because I completely must have missed something along the lines, but I didn't realize for about 10 hours into the game that you actually need to have your Tanto equipped to be able to do a double assassination. I was like so unaware of that for ages, and because I kept like getting above two people and like it wasn't coming up double assassinate, and I was like, why is this not coming up? And then I realized because I didn't have a Tanto equipped.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's a tanto
pro tip.
pass, but I believe. Because I think it's in one of the passive trees you need to unlock for double
Yeah,
assassination,
yeah, and
which
I'm sure it does tell you there, but I don't know. I think
it's a good system because getting those passives is really easy if you just explore the world. So it's not as if it's something you're gonna, no offense to Mirage, but it's not like Mirage where you have to get to a certain point in the story to get like a tool or something. This is like, even if you spent like 2 hours doing temples, getting your knowledge up, you could just easily unlock it and then you're off on your horses to double assassinate everybody.
I mean, that would be an option, wouldn't it? As long as you were careful in the higher level areas, you could visit every shrine, do every meditation spot. You could be knowledge rank 6 and then start the story if you wanted
yeah,
to. I don't know if that would be very satisfying, but you could do that. Absolutely. And again, it's because the world has been removed of a lot of stuff. You aren't going to run into a bandit camp every 30 seconds or, whatever. So it would be an option.
Well, I did try that with Now I went into Eager um, a few hours ago before I joined, before I left this morning. And Eager's about 10 levels higher than where I am. And I managed to easily just take down an entire camp with Naue in stealth. I kind of cheated because it was nighttime, so stealth was a little bit easier because there was more shadows, but it was just really simple enough and fast enough that you could just get away with it and still have a few guards standing. So I might have to try it if I do a second playthrough.
The double assassinate I like the animation that cracks me up every time. So if she's behind two guards, she'll step in front of them so that they can see her, and then she'll stab back behind her, one with the blade and one with the. I just think that's not even subtle. That's just like, hey guys, I'm here, boom,
Now you're
and
dead.
yeah, no, I'll just say one thing on playing as Yasuke is a lot of fun. Crashing in through doors, waving this huge naginata, and it is a lot of fun. And I actually really enjoyed switching between them at different times. But playing as Naue, if you get hit with the wrong weapon, it's a one-shot kill.
Yeah.
Mm,
And that requires precision and concentration. And I'm not normally a combat kind of guy. Sorry, guys, I'll probably never play Rise of the Ronin or Dark Souls or what's the one that you like, Chris? The guy with the mask
Sekiro.
of Sekiro. I'll probably never play Sekiro, but I really
Oh,
enjoyed.
that's not the one with the mask. You think that Ghost of Tsushima, but I think that's an
No, no, I
okay
was
game.
thinking of
But
Sekiro because you
oh,
told me it's all about parrying and learning patterns. And
yeah,
I'll never play that level of game because I haven't got the patience. But I really enjoyed the challenge of situational awareness, of using the right weapon, using tools as needed in combat. She's really, really, just really challenging and enjoyable character to play as, I think. On the topic of Night, Declan, you mentioned shadows. I just want to say one thing. When Naue, and actually does it apply to Yasuke as well? It does. When they go into shadows and they become invisible, there's this really nice little sound that gets played as you become undetected. It's so satisfying. And you can be prone in a shadow. Everyone is looking at you, but they can't see you, and it's just brilliant. I love that feeling of just
yeah.
being completely invisible. Works really reliably. It's great for the sort of the fancy.
I think the only downside to the shadows is I will warn people who want to do stealth, do not rely on them because we can't force night and day like we could in the older games.
Yeah.
You may be able to do a camp in 10 seconds by relying on the shadows, but as soon as daytime comes, stealth becomes a whole different ball game, and you just gotta slow down. Just don't rely on shadows. Use them situationally, depending on the circumstance. Otherwise, they will bite you in the backside.
I'm going to say something. See the day and night cycle thing not being in the game. Is there a reason for that? Do you know?
They have said that they. So let's try to think of examples. So at night, of course, you can hide in the dark. You
Yeah,
can extinguish lights. In the rain, I'm talking about weather, not just day and night, but in the rain, your footsteps are muffled. I think in the winter, if you walk on rooftops and you knock icicles, people will
yeah,
hear you.
yeah. I've had
So
that
this,
happen.
yeah, and I was trying that yesterday, and I did not get very far. So the point behind all of this is that what the developers have said is they want you to sort of master the environment, use a different
Yeah,
approach for each season, each weather, and day and night is part of that. The bit that I want to be at night.
yeah,
I want to be that sneaky shinobi in the dark. What I would like to be able to do is go to the Kukariga, the little huts or little buildings you
oh
can,
yeah. Your safe houses.
your safe,
Yeah,
bloody hell. Yes, your safe
yeah,
houses. I would like to go to the safe house and go to, because there's a bed in there. Why can't we go there and say,
yeah.
Naue is very, very smart, Shinobi, and she's decided to wait for nighttime?
Yeah, because I mean,
That's
you
what I would like
can
to do.
change, you can force the season to change sometimes, so why not
Mm,
change the day and night? And I'm exactly the same as you. I want to be able to change it to day and night because I like to do like stealthy combat missions at night. And the other thing that kind of annoys me is I like to travel long distances during the day because the amount of times that I would come over a mountain or come through a forest clearing and it would be like this big grand open space of mountains and it was pitch black. And I'm just thinking that would have looked amazing if it was daytime. But it's so dark and the game is pretty dark when it is nighttime and stuff. Some bits of it are like pitch black and you actually can't see a thing. So
I think personally, judging on what they've said in topics and we'll cover this later on with the hub. I think the fact of not being able to make it night and day when we want actually does what something in the Assassin's Creed franchise has never done. But instead of people thinking, oh, we're just playing a simulation, we can change it, the actual historical part of Shadows feels like real history. So, yes, we're still revisiting a memory in the Animus, but for me, it feels like we're not playing through an animus like what we did with Odyssey and all the others. We're actually just reliving a memory as they happen. So there has to be that flow of reality. So night and day flows. And I think personally, Naue has an edge, a streak to her of impatientness, especially with what's going on. So for me, not being able to like rest and think, oh, I'll go do that temple at night so I can have more shadows. I think for Naue, sometimes she just wants to get her revenge. So if it's daytime, she'll just do it. If it's nighttime, she'll just do it. Even though she's skillful and smart, she also comes up with a sort of like a streak of, well, I just want to get my revenge. That's all I'm focused on, and that's my determination. So I think without the day and night, it's actually forcing the player to accept that Naue wants to learn more, wants to grow. So she needs to not rely on certain things. She has to stop being impatient and just take things slowly. So if it's daytime, well, Naue is going to have to be a little bit more focused on what she's doing, using what tools, using every inch of her knowledge from when she was living in Ego and everything they taught her. And I think it just kind of hones that more realism that the franchise gets a lot of fun poked at. But this to me feels like they're trying to edge closer to a little bit of realism, even though it's still that science fiction historical fantasy, if that
See,
makes sense.
you're too good, man. Like I completely understand what they're trying to do here, man. But yeah, it's like I said, like that was one of what when I found that out that you couldn't change day and night cycle, I wrote down and it still stands that that's the thing I don't like about the game the most. Everything, because I think this game is like possibly my favorite Assassin's Creed game. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it might be knocking Assassin's Creed 3 down to second,
Whoa,
which
whoa, whoa,
is
whoa, 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 whoa. We
crazy
need to
talk, right?
check. Chris, are you okay right
I
now?
know, man, I know. Like, and that's what I'm saying. So, like, the day and night cycle, like, that being the worst thing about the game for me, like, that's okay. I guess I can deal with that.
For me, this is my favorite AC, and no hands down. Like, it only took about 10 hours in this game for me to go, you know what? Syndicate is going to be number two all the way. AC1 will be the third because it was the first one. But if there's any AC I can replay from now to the end of time, it has to be Shadows.
Yeah.
It's just perfect in everything it's trying to do
Guys, this is
for me.
amazing. All right.
I know that
All
some
right.
people disagree, but for me, I kind of like that realism that the game's trying to go for. For once in my life, I feel
Yeah.
like there's an agency to everything from parkour to combat to stealth. It feels like there's just a reason to do it, not just for gameplay or for personal fun. There's actually a grounded reason for the character to do it. And that's what I want in Assassin's Creed. I want to feel like there's a reason for me to do it. Do I need to be on the rooftops? Do I need to be doing parkour? Do I need to be doing combat? And Shadows is basically telling me yes, because if you don't do it, Naoya is going to get flattened. But you
Yes.
can't do it with Yasuke because he's too much of a tank. So you need to learn yourself how do you want to do it and what agency do you want to pick? And to me, that is the pinnacle of Assassin's Creed.
That's fair enough. I think the other option is if you need to get into that location in the daytime, you should choose Yasuke and charge him through the front door, maybe.
Yeah.
You have two characters suited to different scenarios. Mostly, and it's not for any reason of the presence of his character in the game, because actually I really enjoyed his storyline, his character, and his gameplay. Mostly, I did everything I could with Naue because I just wanted to be that
Yeah.
sneaky ninja. Declan, you mentioned modern day a moment ago. Should we talk about the word that shall not be mentioned? Modern day. I don't want to. We can't say too much because we want people to
Yeah.
discover it for themselves. So I suppose look, let's summarize it like this. It's there. It's it's not like Assassin's Creed 3 or the earlier ones, but there's definitely some modern day stuff, but it's very early days.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a new story here they're trying to
Yeah.
tell, so yeah. But it's intriguing, I'll get that.
I will say, and I know I'm probably going to get booted off the podcast and tons of fans outraged.
I'm just going to put my mouse here over the end meeting button, but you continue, mate. We're watching. All right.
I'm going to say that the modern day, even though it's not fully complete and it's going to evolve, I will say what they're doing with the hub, without spoiling anything, is creating a meta experience for the player. And it actually creates a modern day that is equivalent to what they tried to do with Desmond, but elevated it. I
Okay.
still think there is room
Okay.
to grow. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but that whole the way the hub is built, the way the loads up, it creates this meta experience that you, the player, just like they tried with Unity and Syndicate, but it didn't really pay off. But you, the player, this is your Animus, this is the memory you're playing. But what you're going to find in that hub is going to fill the world that's happening behind it. And to me, Assassin's Creed as like a meta experience kind of works better for the player because you're playing a memory which is just all historical, none of the bells and whistles of you need to leave Anonymous, you need to do this. You play the story, you learn about the past, and then when you go back to the hub as the player, you're then piecing together the jigsaw of the modern day, and it gives you the player agency to then decide, well, you know what, I just want the memory, so I'm just going to go play Shadows. I'm going to ignore the hub. But then if you're a player like me who wants both, you've got both in a kind of a neat package where it's not too much lore that's going to overflow your brain, but enough snippets that gets you intrigued to find out what's next. I think there is way more room to grow because this is just day one, but the modern day has blown my expectations out the water. And I think they finally nailed it of where the modern day should be going. Can they stick the landing with the next title? We don't know.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's going to be multiple games, potentially
Yeah,
over many, many years to see, does this go anywhere? Is it
yeah.
good? Is it interesting? Is it forgotten? Yeah.
But I think for a start, I think they're off the races. They've got a great start, but can they keep the momentum? And I think, as you say, time will tell if they can keep the momentum. And I think that's the only reason why modern days failed since Desmond. There just hasn't been that momentum. Desmond's did flow from game to game, so he had that momentum to keep going. Then Black Flag was like a dip, but then Unity and Syndicate, that modern day didn't really
Can I be
connect.
honest? I thought Black Flag's one day was fine. I know a lot of people call it out, but Desmond was dead. Sorry, spoilers. Um, they they wanted to try something very different. It was all framed as Abstergo Entertainment are making video games now based on genetic memory. So they had Liberation was their first game, and then I know it all got a bit into almost a loop of self-references, but I thought it was fine. You were exploring an office, it was interactive. Do you know what? They tried something. I wouldn't have maybe the mistake they made was to keep changing
Yeah, I think
that
it was
frame.
Yeah,
that between AC4 and Syndicate, they kind of there wasn't really much going on, and each modern day story was kind of different. It was like the same kind of premise, but it was like a different thing going on, and it wasn't like a continuous thing. Whereas and then they took it into Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla, and it was all about Layla, obviously. So that was like a continuous thing, so that was fine. But yeah, it's like I thought obviously before we got told that Bassam wasn't going to be making an appearance. And I was like, yeah, it's like they're changing it again. Like, what is going on?
Yes.
But I feel
Yes.
like from what I've seen in the Animus Hub so far, because obviously there's still things to get, and there will be things to get in the Animus Hub for this game for, I'm assuming, months, maybe even years to come. Um, I'm excited because I feel like they've got a story. They know what story they want to tell now, and they know where they're going to go with it. So I'm hopeful.
Me too. And I know that they've said that the modern day is moving some years, some decades into the future. And I'll be honest, initially I thought, no, that's dumb. I think actually that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Present day events are not great. How do
yeah,
you how do you sort of tell a fictional story that's allegedly in our modern day without talking about some pretty serious stuff that's going down? So
yeah.
moving it a few decades into the future just gives them so much creative freedom.
And create the world they want.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm all right with that. So we've been recording for about 30 or 40 minutes. Player four has entered the game. Arshak, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going?
All right, welcome, welcome. So it's very early in the morning, LA, not that early in the morning, LA time, I guess. Um, Welcome to the show. Welcome to the first impressions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Wait, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear, mate. Loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's like the afternoon time. Sorry, I was a bit late. I'm like working on like review
There's a lot
on
to
the
do, isn't
review.
there? I mean, look, this is like totally privileged YouTuber conversation, but these last 2 weeks, I've had very long days of work and then trying to complete the game, making a couple of videos for the channel, and writing scripts and stuff. So it has been a busy 10, 12 days, hasn't it? We've covered,
Yeah.
you'll see in the chat there, Arshak, we've got a few talking points. We've covered world, we've covered gameplay, we've talked a little bit about the skill tree. We were talking about modern day. Obviously, we don't want to give any spoilers to our listeners, but do you want to give us a quick summary of world gameplay, that sort of thing? What do you think?
Oh boy. Uh world and gameplay. Okay, yeah. So the world exploration in this game is crazy. To start with, you have your non-violent activities that are honestly quite therapeutic. Yeah, like praying at shrines it is like, just be in the moment. And then you have the Kujikiri meditations, next to like waterfalls or whatever's going through Naoi's uh brain at that time. And what I love about the Kujikiri meditations is it's um it is customized. The weather is customized to whatever Naoi is feeling at that time. Uh
Really?
so
I hadn't noticed that.
yeah, I like noticed that because like um so so the first four Kujikiris
Yeah.
um are like, basically really interesting.
Do you know what? We should give
And
one spoiler-free tip. When you play Shadows, there is a prologue, which is kind of linear and it's partly tutorial and it's setting up the characters and everything. Then the world will open up partly. Do the four Kujikiri meditations with Naoi quite early.
any
The
four.
ones nearest, any four, yeah, any four that you find, do them quite early because they will add good stuff.
Right, yeah. And like, we're not giving spoilers there. We're just guiding you. But basically after the four, the Kojikiri meditations kind of become customized to what Naue is feeling. So I was next to a waterfall and it was like raining like cats and dogs basically. And now I just like, she said something about rain. I'm like, wait, is this game customized to like uh what Naue is feeling? Because that's pretty cool. Like, how they can influence the weather w when you're stepping into a zone like a Kojikiri zone. But yeah, that's what I took from it. Other than that, there's much to do in the world exploration, stealth, combat, like, the world is big. The Sumi paintings and stuff like that. Putting those paintings in my hideout later on. Um, yeah, I'm a bit butthurt that Yasuke and Naoe don't have uh like uh Sumi painting styles of their own. It's just like, one.
That would be so cool. Like, oh no, we can't. No, we mustn't say no. Um,
Yeah.
yes, yes, because there is a dialogue that happens, and I thought that would happen, and it doesn't,
Yeah,
which
I
is a
thought that
shame.
would happen and it didn't happen. So,
Yeah. This is the stupidest conversation ever. None of us want to spoil anything, which is quite right. We don't want to ruin it for our
uh,
listeners and our subscribers, but also there's so much we want to talk about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the kata I think, like, side quests that you do with Yasuke. Honestly, at first I was like, "Oh, this is annoying." But I was playing on my PlayStation controller, but the key commands were Xbox. So I'm like, what's what's happening? I was playing on like GeForce Now, so like it was only Xbox. Once that switched over to like PlayStation, it became easier for me. Of course. But you get to learn some combat combos in that kata uh side quests, which is pretty cool.
I
Um,
I didn't realize that was actually teaching me combos to use in combat, but
y
I got to learn a lot more for
y y
sure.
yeah, yeah, like but I mean, kind of, it's a hack and slash game, yeah, but dude, like the combat is just so good. Yeah, like you really feel like you're slicing through pixelated skin.
Mm.
Yeah.
Did you guys so in the combat you've got usual attack, dodge, parry, there's unblockable attacks there. I like the flurry attacks, getting the timing right as each of the blue flashing
So you're parrying them, yeah,
strikes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. It's
fun.
nice.
It took me many hours to realize. So you might have seen in the videos that there's this vulnerable state. So if you do a deflection at the right time, or a dodge, the enemy they'll get a bit of a yellow glow on their body, and then you can go in for some attacks. Did you realize? I didn't notice this for many hours. There's also a daze state that they can go into
Yeah.
where they sort
Yeah.
of
That
get
was when I
tired.
asked you about that guy
Ah.
mind, and I was like, I don't know if this was guy was important, and I don't know if he's dead, but he's got this weird symbol above him.
No. That is it like a little zigzag?
Aye.
That means they're asleep or they're dozing.
All right.
But
Okay.
there's another
Oh,
state. So
the
when you're
oh,
in
sorry. Yeah,
melee,
yeah.
yeah, they sort of get out of
All right.
breath, bless
All
them,
right.
and
So
they have to
there's.
have a little breather, and then you can go in for a
Aye.
quick
Yeah, I know
attack.
what you mean
So
now. Yeah.
One
yeah,
gripe, one gripe I have about that thing, sleep state. So with Naue, you can assassinate them
yes,
in their sleep. With Yasuke, you can't assassinate them in their sleep. Which um well no, all he has to do is basically like like Jin Sakai does. But I think, dude, like it's bothering me uh that I can't kill them, because at one point in the story, like it tells you to, like, get rid of this kind of area of enemies, and my plan was to make them sleep, and kind of kill them off. um but when I went to them and they were asleep and I was on a smidge of health, like if I got them up, I was not gonna survive. Um, they wouldn't die. Uh, and the story couldn't move forward. Um, but I got to thinking, I'm like, is he not killing them in their sleep because he's a samurai and he has a code of honor? Yeah, but
no,
I'm
that's
like,
that. There's actually a tip that'll come up on the loading screen. Guards that are they're not really fully asleep. They're like half asleep at their
Yeah.
station. You will wake them up if you make too much noise. And if you look at the noise meter or the detection meter, Naue can shrink that right down to almost nothing. Yasuke can only ever shrink it down a little bit. He basically makes more noise in his as he clanks around, even when he crouches,
Yeah.
in his
No,
armor, he makes more noise and he wakes them up. That's why you can't assassinate them.
no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, I'm not talking about that kind of sleep state that they are in when they're like
Oh,
kind of
okay.
awake.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when like your ally who will
Oh,
remain nameless um when when they put a group of soldiers to sleep, I can't go and just like kill them with like a katana or something like that. Um
Yeah, that's weird.
so yeah, that needs work. If it's not like contextually and purposely done. Uh but yeah, that was one gripe. Hi, Declan.
Uh, I was gonna say, sorry, I was gonna say, I think the reason why he can't assassinate them is it's because he's not. It's gonna sound weird, but he's not skillful to assassinate because you can do assassinations with him, but they're called brutal assassinations. And if you read the loading screen tip, it does tell you that if there's two guards, for example, one facing you and one facing away, and you brutal assassinate the guy that faces you, Yasuke will shout his name to aggro the other person to you. So unlike Naue, who wants to remain silent and get everyone dead, basically, Yasuke isn't about that. So for him to assassinate someone sleep would go against who he is as a character. From a gameplay point of view, I think it should be there from a gameplay for kind of like if now I can do it, why can't Yasuke? But because they're trying to build two different characters, Yasuke just really doesn't want to assassinate people. If he's going to brutal assassinate a guard, he's going to alert the other one to get into combat. And I think that's just because that's who he is and that's how he's trained. He's not trained in the ways of the eager to be stealthy, to get rid of them. He's trained to be a samurai, to fight. And I think he may just see it as a bit of a dirty trick to, well, you're asleep, so I'm just going to off you while you're having a nap. I think for him, it's more the case of, no, I should face you in battle one on one, which is kind of weird, but I think it's just how they've tried to build two characters so people can have individuality in their play style. So if Yasuke could do a lot of stuff that Naoe did, a lot more people wouldn't pick Naoe because Yasuke can do it. Whereas this way, you then kind of got to think, well, if I'm going to use an ally that can put everyone to sleep, I should be doing a mission as Naoe because that's what it combos with. So everyone goes to sleep. Naoe will run in and just stealth assassinate. But if I'm doing something with Yasuke, then I need an ally that can provide support to the combat or kind of stop people from hitting you too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense, but what I'm saying is like if I'm playing the game with like Y- Yasuke and the story doesn't move forward just because like they are um they are asleep. In that sense, the story should move forward because they're not going to wake up. But yeah, it's just it's something that bothered me, but I get what you're saying. Like, Yasuke is not a ghost. He's a samurai. So like, it's like different rules, but
I
yeah,
think is Arshak trying to sneak as many references to Ghost of Tsushima into this recording as possible. I mean, he's already talked about Jin Sakai and now he's mentioning the word ghost. I don't know, man. Is this a bet? Is that what
I'm
you've got here?
comparing
I'm going to sneak as many references in as possible.
no, I'm comparing the games
I'm just messing with you, mate.
you see the games have their differentiations and like Assassin's Creed Shadows is not trying to be Ghost of Tsushima, but a gamer can't help but compare the two together, because they're very similar. But what you have with Jin Sakai is like, he's like a shinobi slash samurai. Um, whereas in Shadows you have two characters, one shinobi, one samurai, two different stories, two different personal stories too. Um, and like, that come together in a very kind of intricate way. Um, yeah, so like uh, I love I love both games. Yeah, it's just one can't help but compare the two.
Oh, comparisons are inevitable. Absolutely. I'll be honest with you. I know the whole point of the Ghost of Tsushima was he sort of adopted dishonorable stealth tactics to beat the Mongols. Spoilers. But I
It's
enjoyed the
been
melee
years, bro.
combat so much. Yeah, I know. I enjoyed the melee combat so much in Ghost. I mostly just meleeed everything because it was just so enjoyable to fight and get it right. Okay, so we've had some questions from our listeners. So I'll read it. We've had about half a dozen. I'm going to read them out and go around each of you in turn to answer one of them. So, question for Chris. This is from Hooded Shadow Brand. Hello there, gentlemen. Does Shadows feel like a descendant of the RPG creeds, or does it have more of the DNA from the classic era games?
What a question.
I would definitely say it has a bit of both. I mean, you can definitely feel the RPG games in there without a doubt. Um, as far as the old school, I wouldn't really say so much that, but I would say definitely Mirage. You can feel Mirage in there, and that was based off of the old school stuff. So take that for what you want.
One thing I didn't realize until maybe the third or fourth, let's call them major targets, is they're actually locked areas, locked by the Animus.
Yeah.
So they are a bit more like those classic games in that you're in this playground, black box. You've got to figure it out. And I really appreciated that. Because in Odyssey, if you messed up, you could just sprint away and come back when all the thing, when the guards had gone back to patrol. So yeah, yeah.
Oh, just one thing on that. When you do get kind of spotted or whatever, and the guards are searching for you, they will search forever. Like not indefinitely, but they search for so long compared to any previous game.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Don't get spotted.
yeah, don't get
Okay.
spotted.
Next question. I'm going to ask Declan to answer this, but I don't know if we can answer it. Master Kira's counsel, Zark. He asks, "What do you think of the soundtrack?"
Um, as someone who doesn't really like
I've asked
Assassin's
the wrong
Creed,
person, haven't I?
hear me out. Hear me out. As someone who doesn't like Assassin's Creed soundtrack, I will say Shadows is actually the best soundtrack, and I've actually played more of the soundtrack in this game than I do any other because it feels more traditional and more in time with the gaming, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Understood.
that's the
All
best
right.
way I could answer it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else got a comment on the soundtrack?
I think the soundtrack's brilliant, to be honest with you. And it's the whole sound design of the game, I think, is brilliant. So
Yeah, the sound design is very, very good.
I would
Um,
say
Go on, Ashak.
I would say all the soundtracks are well, most of the soundtracks are very soothing. Like, it's just um it it uh it it tells a story through, through its music, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's the flight. They're amazing composers. They're the composers of like Horizon Zero Dawn and Odyssey. So like, uh, I I I I I just love their direction that they went in this game. Some of the soundtracks are like, dark and ominous and like, in this you're in this uh warlords Japanese politics going on. So everything's like ambiguous. So definitely those vibes too. But I thought the soundtracks are like, really good for what the game is about.
Mm. Understood. All right. Ikrake, he asks, did you enjoy it? Brackets, joke, but it's more in line with how fatigued you were about Valhalla. I'll take that one. So, I mean, I'll be honest, Valhalla completely burnt me out. Far, far too long. Arshak made a good point earlier. He said Valhalla is a dark game, and it is. There's a serious story there, and it's a very good Assassin's Creed story, but it's so padded out that every time it builds up, it loses all of its tension and interest. It did for me anyway. This is totally different, Ikrake. First of all, it's a lot shorter. You could probably finish it in, if you really pushed it, maybe 30 or 40 hours. So it's already less than half the length of Valhalla. You probably wouldn't want to play it that way. You'd want to explore it because it's a game designed to be explored. Did I enjoy it? Short answer, oh heck yes. Oh heck yes. I
Yeah.
think as you'll hear from us as we talk further tonight, we all did.
The game definitely the game definitely invites you to do side quests more.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, you gotta reach this level in order to advance. No, you can do side quests. You're actually like, looking forward to do side quests because man, there's so many side quests in this game that we like we can't complain about it.
You're right. There are quite a lot, but I think there's fewer than Odyssey.
Yeah, I think
Probably, maybe not fewer than Origins. I don't know, but I tell you one thing that we haven't talked about, and it's important for like Ikarek's question. Um, I I probably only did two or three side quests in total, and I was never level gated. I never felt like I need to go and level up before I come back to this main story mission, and I think that's a good thing. Again, feedback from Odyssey.
Are we counting like not main targets, but like targets as side
I
missions?
I
Because
didn't do most
I
of
mean,
those either.
targets galore in this game, right?
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yes.
yeah, it's like every time I open the objective board, I think it automatically takes takes control, and it's like,
Hmm.
who,
A new circle
group,
appears.
10 new yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
Look, if you like stabbing
yeah.
people, this is the game for you because there are a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people that need to be stabbed. All right, this is a more technical question. Declan, this one's for you. Okay. In the trailer, Naue pivots her hidden blade to use it as a tanto. Can you do that in the game? And if so, how? Also, Yasuke's replica helmet by Pure Arts has a faceplate. Does he ever use a faceplate with any of his helmets? I'll tell you what, those are tough questions, Declan. If you're not sure, we'll open it to the floor, but you go first.
So from what I've seen, Yasuke doesn't have a faceplate in his armor. So the armor that they showed in the Pure Arts bust is his standard armor that you get when he becomes controllable. There isn't a face mask. The face mask itself, I don't know why it's on the bust because certain samurai do have it in game, but I have not experienced a moment where Naue ever uses it in cutscenes or in the armor that he gets when you start the game, because the armor he gets when you get control is the armor that he wore in service to who he was in service with. And
Oda
it's,
Nobunaga.
yeah. So it's kind of like weird why it was there because he's not used it. With the Hidden Blade pivot, that's only for Tanto combat. There isn't actually a way to pivot the Hidden Blade because the Hidden Blade isn't actually usable in combat like it was in Valhalla. It's not a equipable weapon. The weapon itself is the Tanto, and then you use that to combine with the Hidden Blade to give an extra movement, an extra ferocity, and a damage. It would be
Mm,
cool if we could do it, but unlike, I think it's very similar to, not very similar. It's very similar, yeah, to AC3, where the pivot blade only ever pivoted when you had the dual blades as a combat option. So it will only ever pivot if you have the Tanto. And I think that
okay.
just kind of makes sense for who she is and for the
That
styles
makes
of combat.
sense for how she does the double assassin. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. It's not, you're right, unless you're really looking for it and you pause the game with photo mode and zoom in,
yeah,
you probably won't see it.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's
It's just a combat ability for her Tanto because I think if they didn't have that with the Tanto would be less usable and less ferocious in combat, but she kind of uses the pivot blade as a secondary dagger. So just imagine it as less as of a pivot blade, but a dual dagger combination.
Mm.
Okay, all right. And yeah, on the faceplate thing, you're right. He does have quite a wide range of helmets. The one I had him wearing for a while was a big straw Ronin hat. That did look quite cool, actually.
Nice.
Um, all right, but let's move on. I forgot to say that question was by Brian Wheeler, by the way. So the next question is from Firefly. Arshak, you can take this one. Can you equip two of the same weapon type and swap between them, e.g., have two katanas with different perks and swap between them depending on what you need in the moment? That's a
No.
good question. Okay.
No, I think you wait. I don't know actually. That's a good question.
That is because in Odyssey, you could put perks on your two weapons and they would all be active. So let's say you had a damage perk and a fire damage perk on the other weapon, they would both apply to your character. I
That's
don't
a good
know
question.
if it
I have
works that
not
way.
I have
Mm,
not tried that. But like my usual weapon combo is like a katana and my bow thing, or like if I'm feeling super heavy, kanabo.
mm,
But yeah, that's a good question. Now I want to go try that.
mm. Do you know that there's a lot in that question, and in the skills you can unlock mastery levels. There's a lot there. There's different engravings. It's kind of like a simplified version of Odyssey's build system, but I suspect this will be an area that people for months will explore what's possible and what different engravings you can combine to get different, combat abilities and so on.
I gotta tell you, the forge in this game is really cool.
Mm,
Like, you can stay with your same weapon or armor the whole entire game. I have this like armor that I got from a castle, um, that has the perk of unblockable parries being blockable. Um, so what I did is once I was like like level 30 or 32, I just paid the forge and it got it from level 18 to level 32. And yeah, and if I want to change to a different outfit, I just transmog it and like there we go. That same perk stays there. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
well, that actually connects nicely to the last question, which Chris can take. So this is from Guess Who. Is gear transmog tied to the equipment or the player? So if I switch to a different piece of gear, do I have to redo the transmog or does it maintain it?
Um, Not sure actually.
No, I
Wait,
don't know either.
can you
Yeah,
ask the
say that again.
So is gear transmog tied to the specific piece of equipment or to the player? So now we're okay.
The
So
piece of
if
equipment.
it's the piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, guess who? You will have to redo transmog if you swap out a katana for another katana or
yeah.
a tanto for a different tanto. You'll have to apply that transmog again.
Yeah, it's like a
There's a lot
quick
less gear though
10-second
in
thing.
this. Go on, mate. Yeah, it's 10-second thing. You're right. But there's a
Yeah.
lot less gear in this game. This is not like Odyssey where in 30 minutes you'll have looted 100 bits of gear that you've then got to
Yeah.
dismantle or sell. There's a lot. I probably looted 15 sets for Naue and 5 for Yasuke.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I,
significant reduction.
I sell them. I like
Yes.
sell them to like merchants to get money,
Yep.
like, to, build the hideout out or like upgrade my allies, like,
Mm, mm.
chump change.
Exactly. I want to ask, anyway, I want to ask you, because you mentioned it, Arshak, I want to ask you all a quick question. Maybe we'll start with Chris. I didn't really use allies at all. Maybe I should have. Maybe that you need to on the harder difficulties. Did you use them, Chris? Did you unlock many of
Um,
them?
Unlocked all but one currently, so there's still a gap left. So I don't know where to find that person. But I mean, I used them a few times, but like older Assassin's Creed games with the assassins that you can call in, I always just kind of use them for fun. I don't ever use them because I need to use them. I always just do it like, oh, let's just have a riot here and get the whole team in. Know what I mean?
It was in Brotherhood. I think it was in Revelations as well. It was so nice when Ezio just does that whistle and the little hand movement, and then the arrows just come
Yeah, the
screeching in
arrow
from all
volley.
directions. Total power fancy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you then all a quick question. Control scheme. Have any of you tweaked the control scheme? Maybe you've put sprint on R2 for the old school vibes.
See, I thought about doing that, but I didn't know what I would replace R2 with because obviously R2 is your heavy attack. So I wasn't really sure. It was easier to change Mirage's settings, but with this I've not even tried yet. I don't know if I will.
I have,
Oh yeah,
and
tell us, Declan, what have you moved around?
so it's also in the video that I made because it's actually for console players. I'm going to argue that it's an essential change to make. For PC, it's different because I don't know your control schemes, but I've actually put sprint as hold A, which is the same button as parkour up. And the reason I did that is I learned early on when you're holding the analog stick to run, you've then got to tap A to parkour up. And then when you get to an edge of the building, you've got to press A again to parkour across or B to parkour down. Now, if you're holding sprint to do the parkour across, what happens is with the analog, you get that slight stutter motion where you come to the edge of the building and then you stutter and then you jump because it's not seamless because you have to time it. Whereas if I've learned if you're holding A to sprint, it auto toggles parkour up. So you just run straight at a wall and now I will run up. You run to an edge of a building and now we will do a flip to the next parkour location. And it just keeps that smoothness rolling. The only issue with having parkour as hold A, which is the same as parkour up, in sprint, is Yasuke will not run through a door because as soon as you hit the door, Yasuke would try and run up the wall because it's a double
Right.
system. So I've not
You're
really
going to
liked.
need that though for certain moments. You're going to
Well,
need him to be able to break open a door.
yeah, I have noticed that there is a couple of moments where I have to quickly jump into settings,
Okay.
but
Right.
I have
Yasuke,
found,
Samurai, hold up. I've got to go into settings. All right, guys. Pause the battle.
yeah, it's a bit of an annoyance, but for speed, for now and ease of access, I have found having sprint as a hold button next to parkour just creates a little bit more smoothness in her movements, and it kind of makes you free up because having the analog stickers turning, it might just be me and my thumb because my right thumb's double jointed, so the joint kind of gets annoying after a while. That trying to toggle the camera to sprint and move the character sometimes does cause my thumb to get a bit stiff. So having sprint as just like A gives me like a little bit more movement to move the analog stick for now to turn. And it's just something I try and change in most games just because I can't hold the analog stick into sprint too much because it will hurt my
You don't
thumb.
need to. You just have it set as press, so you click it and then release it, and it's done. That's
Yeah,
the
see,
default
Until
for
you bump
L3.
into something or something, and
Silly,
then
but
you,
well,
you
that's a
click it
good
again.
point. Yeah.
But no, I'm going to try that because I hate having to click in the stick to be able to sprint like it does my nutting. So I'm actually going to try that, and it would be good if they added separate control configurations for each character. That would help.
Oh, that's a good one because they do need to do different things, different emphasis
True.
on. I mean, Yasuke, he can climb, he can descend, but he climbs very slowly, as you would expect. The guy's 2 meters tall, it's going to take him
Breaks
a while.
ropes and all that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good point. Arshak, we're recording this through Zoom. Arshak has very politely raised his hand in the meeting. So Arshak, please, you may speak. The floor is yours.
Yeah, with like the whole Yasuke sprinting thing, um I I didn't change any like control configurations. It just sometimes I barge in through a shoji door. But I can't like keep it up. Like I don't know how to do the shoulder bash thing that he does. Sometimes he just like does it by his own. I'm like, okay, Yasuke, go King. But like here's the thing. Uh like man, Yasuke's parkour, surprisingly, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's just pure annoying. Because like I would go into a coffin, right? And there's this one particular coffin that you stumble upon that is close to a story quest. Um, and I went in there, uh, and the way coffins work is that they're underground mounds, but they're underground puzzles to get to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Declan was talking about those earlier. Yeah, the tombs or whatever they are.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
get to a
yeah.
loot. And it generally t tells you which character you're gonna need for the coffin. If there's like a big boulder to like a big kind of contraption to remove, um that's gonna be like Yasuke, right? The thing is, I would go into these puzzles, and like I I would jump into the water and kind of try to work my way up. Um, as I reached one place, I got up on it. I got up on the platform just fine. Uh, and then I remembered I forgot to loot a chest. I went back to loot the chest, went back the same way, and Yasuke was not parkouring up. And I'm like, Yasuke, what the heck? A thing. Believe me, like I tried so many times, but at the end of the day, like 15 minutes later, I just loaded up the game again and continued on. Um, I think maybe YouTube is gonna teach me how to uh get past that level.
Yeah, yeah.
But they need to work on that too. So yeah,
I've got a question for you all. Cinematic quality, cutscenes, much
superb.
improved over Valhalla and Mirage. Still not, personally, I'm not trying to be negative person, but they're still not probably the best, but much, much better, much more consistent, I would say. Everyone gets a proper A camera, B camera setup. You know, do you remember where some characters you would talk to them, but they were just stood. This, I think Valhalla was particularly guilty of this, and
Yeah,
you would
like
have complete
animatronics.
freak. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're still you can still see when they're animated, but generally, I think the quality has improved a lot. What do you all think?
Honestly, I think that the skin tone is much better. You can see some details from skin textures and if they have a double chin, that's like there. And let me get specific. In like one of the in like one of the missions, you talk to this sumo type of uh guard. Like, he's like a sumo
I know who you're
wrestler
thinking of.
guard
Yes, yes.
thing.
He's a
Yeah.
big chap.
Yeah, big chap, right? I think like dude, I was focusing on his like nipple physics. I'm being like very intricate over here. Like,
Are you saying that his body was animated with jiggle physics? Is that what you are
jiggle
telling us?
physics. Yes,
Okay,
jiggle.
okay.
Yeah, like thing
Got it.
his 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 like jiggle was like very apparent, and I'm like,
I
yeah,
did not notice that. All right, all right. That's one.
that's
That's an upload for the YouTube channel when I get back to that story.
that's what an overweight person looks like. I should know. A thing, but like I really like those subtle small details th that they added. I think he's the only like big chap that I stumbled across, but I like how they also incorporated like sumo wrestling uh in in this game. Like you see some people sumo wrestling as you're exploring the world, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. But anywho, what did you think?
I've said my opinion. Declan, what did you think? Quality of the animations and characters and whatever?
Um, I'm gonna say it's for me, it's the best since Origins. There's a lot of like movement, facial expressions, especially the outdoor scenes. If it's a little bit windy, you can actually see now his hair move and the
The hair
cloth
animations
physics.
are fantastic.
Yeah.
And one thing I did notice, and I didn't record it because I was too busy pissing myself with laughter, is I figured out you can hide now Yasuke's armor. And if you hide Yasuke's armor, he has like
You can
a
hide now ways too.
yeah, he
God.
has like underpants and then like a loincloth around it. And in one of the cutscenes, it was windy and it was very distracting to see his loincloth just flapping about. And it's like
Does everything have jiggle physics or
there's
well,
a
anyway.
there's a lot of just like intricate moving parts. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so used to seeing clothing and armor in the cutscenes in these RPG trilogies being stiff and cardboardy, just to see like a simple loincloth just go left and right in the wind. It's just like, oh, okay, I shouldn't be laughing because it's just a piece of clothing, but that's hilarious. And then running through the
I think we have
streets.
our episode intro. Thank you, Declan. I'm going to snip that and put it right at the start.
To be honest, right, I know this is off tangent, but I did spend 20 minutes on Friday running around the town assassinating guards as Yasuke in just his loincloth, just to
Yeah.
watch it like get little tail going in the wind and just as it dodged in combat and watch it move around. It was just hilarious. I was like, I'm having and he's actually got chest hair as well that's finely detailed. I was like, why am I having way too much fun looking at how they've built these characters?
It's a whole nother level. I mean, it's
Gen
obvious, isn't it?
gent
Next gen, but it's a whole level up from what we've had before, certainly.
Gentlemen, we have our new towel bayek, you know.
We do. They
Yeah.
knew. They
Yeah.
knew what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But likewise I mean, on both of their outfits, but Naoi's outfits are generally, especially the shinobi outfits, they're multiple layers of cloth and they all move independently. The tassels will blow in the wind separately. She'll have different pieces of like cord and whatever that all move. It's very, very impressive. A far, I mean, it's you can't even compare it to the last few games, can you really? Very, very impressive.
I'm just gonna say it outright. Shadows is the best um out of all the games. Uh, Origins and on
Yeah,
for
I
me.
think the same.
Like, yeah, like it's just n- they learn from what they have done in the recent entries, and they improve so much on it that
Yeah.
casual and hardcore fans are gonna remember this game like moving forward because like it's like a it's like a love letter to stealth and just like what a combat system as well as well like the devs really cooked on and they were under like a lot of pressure but like props
I wrote this the other day. I think of the game like this. Shadows has the tone and the grittiness of Origins. It's got the melee combat, the speed, the smoothness of Odyssey. It's got all the stealth tools and flexibility of Mirage, and it's got the world beauty of Valhalla. What do you think? What do you guys think about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah, like you said, Arshak, it's they learned every lesson, every piece of feedback, negative feedback. They've like, yeah, we can fix that. We can do something different, and it's very, very impressive.
yeah
Chris,
I do
do
have
you
to
wanna?
say
Sorry, Arshak, go on.
I'm Sorry, I do have to say that Shadows is a darker toned game than Odyssey, but a lighter toned game than Valhalla. Uh, Valhalla was really dark at times. Like, it felt like a dark, you know, Viking age, but a beautiful like, sceneries and stuff like that. But but yeah, like Shadows takes itself more seriously, but not as serious as like Valhalla does. Um, in a way, but like, just the politics of it all is pretty cool. I love this one side character who's like basically the heart of of the hideout, Junjiro. Um, like he just makes me laugh at times, but like he he's a complex kind of character. For such a young uh dude, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Good wee guy.
A thing, man, I can't wait for the spoiler section.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to give it. I think we're at least going to give it a few weeks, maybe a month before we get really, just to give people a chance. Because I was thinking about this the other day. Even if we all finish the game next weekend, there's just no point putting out a story review. People won't watch it because they want to
Yeah.
take their time, soak it up. There's just no point. So we will also take our time. Chris, you wanted to end the episode with a question to the group.
Oh
And
yeah,
the
just
reason the
for
reason I'm pushing this on is because I've got an eye on the time and how long the edit will take. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
yeah, just for at the end we could quickly just mention what our one thing that we liked the most about the game and our one thing that we didn't like the most about the game. So I mean, I'll go first. The thing I actually liked the most about the game, and it was what I thought I was going to like the most as well, is the weather system. I'm actually really blown away by that. And the thing I'm least happy about is what I already mentioned.
Day-night cycle, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
annoys me.
Who's next, mate? You're
Declan.
in charge. You're the host now. Who's next?
Oh, me, sorry. Yeah, on you go then. Here you go.
Thing I like most about the game. That's really hard to pick one thing. Okay, I'm not gonna say any of the details, but I'm gonna give two sides of about the story. So I like that, and again, this helps because it's not a completely open choice-based system. Yasuke and Naoe have got very clear characters. You see their characters throughout a lot of their scenes together. And I don't mean this in a romantic way because there isn't a romance between them in the game, but it's just really charming and it's kind of cute that they're there for each other. And that I felt that really came across.
Yeah,
The
it's
thing I
almost like
like
a brother
least,
sister.
yeah, that's a good shout actually. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I like the least is that some storylines, and I'll say the region so that you guys know what I'm talking about. But again, it's not a spoiler because I'm not going to tell you the details. The Omi story arc was excellent. I thought I enjoyed the characters, the interactions. It built a lot about Yasuke and Naoe,
Same.
but there was others that felt very very flat. Like at times the writing I felt was good, and then there were other times when there was conversations where you know how people talk in real life. You don't say exactly what you mean. You talk, in layers, and you sort of talk indirectly. And there was some conversations where basically the dialogue was, "I am a daimyo and I am sad." Oh, why are you sad? I am sad because everyone's getting killed. Well, people don't talk like that. And I don't know if. Okay, here's the thing, right? There will be people who will say the writing is bad or the character bad. I don't know about that because they wouldn't have deliberately written it to be bad. So I wonder if they were going for a certain style with these characters. Like either they were going for that, maybe that's how people in Japan talk. I don't know. I'm not Japanese, right? Or maybe, and I saw this in another conversation, maybe they're trying to reflect the style of certain anime or certain other Japanese media that I'm not familiar with. So maybe to some players, that style of conversation is just normal and that's what you would expect. But to me, it's like, where's the subtlety here? It's very on the nose. So I would say some of the writing is good and the characterizations are brilliant. And this has got this game for me has got the best defined character since Aya and Bayek. But then some of the writing is like, Jesus, really? So that would be my answer. But do you know what? On a replay, I'm going to pay a lot more attention and really try and figure out if that's a true impression or maybe I feel different. I'll throw the ball over to Declan.
You have to, because this is where I get in trouble. um, right. One thing I like and one thing I dislike. I like everything. I dislike nothing. There is not anything I've found yet that
Cheating, cheating, cheating.
I think
Get out.
it's just, I think because I've not complete roll credits yet, that I'm not able to specifically point that one thing I disliked. But every moment I've experienced in this game, there's not a single moment where I've gone, I'm not a fan of that. I think every time I play it, everything just keeps getting better. And I think that's just partially because I know nothing of feudal Japan. So this game is teaching me more than just a game. It's teaching me a world, a lifestyle, and a heritage. So I just like everything because it's teaching me something new and I'm learning every day. And until I roll credits, I can't specifically say what I dislike because I don't know yet until I get further in.
It's a fair answer.
We'll
Yeah.
follow up with you.
Yes. Damn right.
Yeah. Okay, so can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So one thing that I like. This is a very specific thing that I like. I mean, yes, everything James and Chris uh said is right. The story flows great and the seasons are great as well. Um, to me, this game became personal in the hideout. Thing like uh I don't talk about this often in my socials. But I am a very religious person. And Christianity to me uh means a lot. So when I was in the port of Sakai and I saw this Portuguese trader selling Christian iconography that I can put in my hideout, that meant a lot to me. Uh, for the world to be open like that, in my hideout I have a cross outside and I have a cross in the area that the people sleep in, and like a picture of like Jesus over there. So yeah, I love that the hideout in this game can reflect your you know can reflect you, can reflect me. Uh yeah, and the amount of customizations that you can do. I mean, I saw Memento Gallery's I think picture that he posted of the photo mode. I'm like, oh my God, a sh a Shinto shrine in front of the waterfall. I should go do that. Yeah, it allows like community building and community interaction both in game and outside in the real world. So that's the thing that I liked uh, from it. Now, uh, outside thing, what I did not like about this game is no social stealth, and I'm I'm like, bro, this game is almost perfect. It would be perfect if there was social stealth in it. But yeah, and the lack of people in towns too. Like you clearly see they don't want you to think about social stealth in this game. They want you to think about shadows and stuff. But when you show in like the CGI that there are a lot of people walking around, I expect a lot of people to walk around in the port of Sakai. I didn't see a lot of people walking around, um, but yeah, like man, if social stealth would have been in this game, it would be cool. It can still be added probably in the DLCs. Um, but yeah, let let me end on this. Yeah, social stealth needs to be in this game for it to be perfect for me. Uh, yeah,
Fair enough. All
Yeah.
right.
yeah,
All right.
that was a lot of talking.
Yeah, that's what we do. All right, so we've kept it
Yeah.
spoiler free. We've given a flavor of the game, which is great. Um, let's end the recording there and just say thank you all very much for joining me. Pleasure to chat as always. I'm going to try and get this episode edited, uploaded, ready for the embargo, and yeah, we'll get together soon and talk more shadows.